talk to Robert Castalca, senator from Monroe, Louisiana, and I met with him earlier that summer about state action on the development program, developing a new high-speed train, a Maglev train, and he said at that time, now you remember at that time that we're trying to get out of Houston, running out of gasoline, and I said, what more do you want? What more demonstrations do you need for this type of system? But politically it was impossible.
Thank you very much. Mr. Batt?
There were two pieces of legislation before I left office. One was the repeal of the residency requirement for our first responders, which I think was imperative for us to hire quality people for our city. The second was the blight ordinance that unfortunately did not get enforced. But quite frankly, after the council, I got involved with the Beacon of Hope, and I've been involved with Crime Stoppers for quite some time. But I've done pretty much the same thing that all of you guys have done, is help our community where we can. Rebuild. My wife renovated our house. It got 9 feet of water and a tree through the second floor. When we built the new house, we built 4 blocks away. We reinvested in the community like everybody in the city, like everybody in District A, and like the people that have vested back in our city. And it's not about what we've done, it's about what our community can do and what we have done. And going forward, if we work together, we can really do some amazing things. And look at the Saints. Did anybody, Grevy, you're keeping time, did you ever think in your lifetime we could be 13-0? We can still do it here, guys. This can still happen for New Orleans. I believe it.
Thank you very much. Ms. Blanque?
Well, past 5 years, immediately thereafter Katrina, I actually went about taking a leadership role in my community. I worked really hard to bring about civic engagement and pass on the information that was so sorely missed from our elected. It started out with basic newsletters, database building, and mapping to show them who was coming back so they could make informed decisions on whether or not they could come back and do this very, very big task of rebuilding. We're nowhere near done. I totally believe in the civic engagement model that I put together, and I have learned to respect and honor and love every bit of the contributions from those neighbors, because my community looks pretty darn good from those efforts. I rose to the call to work even in city government, continuing the same process through the planning processes of Lambert, moving on to UNOM. And I would bring that to the table again, keeping that engagement.
Thank you. Ms. Guidry?
I returned to a flooded home in a flooded city like all of us did. I moved to get into the board of my neighborhood association because another board member was not coming back. That led fairly swiftly to becoming president of my neighborhood organization, which I still am today. As president of the neighborhood organization, I led the fight to close down a nuisance bar in our neighborhood, one that had brought drugs, prostitution.
Please, we talked earlier. We need to keep the applause out of this.
Where the customers were intimidating our neighbors, and it was driving property values down. I then fought at both the city and state levels to keep another company from opening up another bar there, all led by the property owner. That same property owner is a major contributor, was a major contributor to Mr. Batt's campaign last year.
Finish your thoughts.
And is again today. I led the drive to refurbish our firehouse.
We're going to have to stop there. Thank you very much. All right, next question. There's a group of people in the media who try to make everything a race issue, and they would like you to believe this just occurs in New Orleans. What are your thoughts? Is everything black and white? Mr. Batt?
No, it's not. Everything is, in a lot of cases, in government, it should be black and white and clear. But in our city, we are such a multicultural group of folks. We're a big gumbo, and it should not be recognized as such. That gives our city the edge and the character that why so many people come to visit us, because we are all so different, and we all have different backgrounds. And you see a Boy Festival on Oak Street, or the Harrison Avenue Marketplace that the Udos put together in Lakeview, and different festivals on Ferret Street. And people love just to be together and with New Orleanians. And we have a spirit about us, a spirit that I've never seen, and I've traveled a good bit, and I know everybody here as to well. There's a spirit here that I think transcends most municipalities. We're proud of our city. We're proud, with all its warts, we're proud. And I think that's the one, bonding factor.
Thank you. Ms. Blunt?
I think quite often we hear things put very basically in the media in terms of black and white, but we all live in shades of gray. I live in a very diversified neighborhood, and we have very diverse issues. We're often framed by our experiences with the last person that we were with, and that could have been someone that looks diametrically opposite of us, and we take that experience with us, and it frames the next decision-making process. It's an unfortunate thing, but it's happened to everyone, and it happens in the cities a lot. I don't believe we live in a world of color in New Orleans. I think we live in a world of culture, and those cultures are what are the melting pot that make us so special and make us so unique and make us a destination for the rest of the nation. Unfortunately, like I said, the media quite often can define things very easily in black and white, and that's not fair to who we are.
Do I get to respond? Ms. Guidry?
I believe that it's incumbent upon our leaders not to use the race card. And I believe that we have seen that happen at the top of our leadership in this city. If our leaders can bring together the diverse people in this city all at the same table, if we can tap into groups like Common Good, the Racism, the Urban League, and we can also, with our District A President's Council, we have found that we are bringing ourselves together and we are reaching across to each other. It is more of a cultural, an economic difference than anything else. And we need to understand the economics. If we can understand the needs of each other, then I think that we are going to see each other eye to eye. And New Orleans, I think, does a better job of that than most cities in our country.
Thank you very much. Mr. Robertson?
I think some of the answers were quite correct. I think this is used by politicians and the media blows it up, as they do with a lot of other issues. They make a problem where there's not really one. I got through Tulane by going away to Germany for a year, and this is reminding me of a conversation I had with a guy from Africa, and he contended there really wasn't such a thing as racism. It was really a class problem. It had to do with rich and poor. And that, I resisted that because this is a very Marxist kind of concept. And I resisted it, but it made me think. Is it really because you don't have a lot of racism with Hollywood stars? It doesn't make a difference. They all are rich, right? So, I think that to my mind, it comes down to simple good manners. You need to treat everybody with respect, even if they're dead wrong. You got your work cut out trying to change their mind. So this is how we deal with my colleagues on the council. Black, white, or other. I still got 15 seconds. I'm going to give you some facts about this district. We have 61,144 voters, 36,245 are white, 19,881 are black, which is 32.5%, and 5,000 are other.
Thank you very much. Next question. This evening's news report of the Inspector General's office. How do you see the City Council and Inspector General operating in the next 4 years?
I would think that the City Council would be using the Inspector General's office as a tool of independent oversight. Was there a specific report we're talking about from this evening, or we're talking about just our general discussion?
There was the legislative audit. The legislative auditor returned a report on the report that Len Odom and some of his staff did. Basically found nothing wrong in the Inspector General's office, or no misspending of funds under Sarah Schultz.
Okay. I think the Inspector General's office is very, very important to this city. It's very, very important to the council as an independent learning tool. It will help us make better decisions going forward without making everybody wrong, and point more to the issues than the people, and that takes a lot of the argument out of the way when we do that. I see it as being a positive relationship. It's a work in progress. It's not a complete item.
Ms. Guidry?
I think the Office of the Inspector General is one of the most important pieces of progress that this City Council made over this last term. I was very pleased to see that the legislative auditor found that there was no wrongdoing in